Hello guys, today's video is about the Winter War, a conflict in which tiny Finland fought against the mighty Soviet Union during the early months of World War II. In this video, we'll look at the causes of the war, the Soviet invasion, the major battles, Finland's remarkable resistance, the peace treaty, and the long-term consequences of the conflict. Let's begin. When World War II began in September 1939, Europe was already at war. While Germany invaded Poland from the west, the Soviet Union occupied eastern Poland under the secret terms of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Only a few months later, the Soviet Union turned its attention to another neighbor, Finland. Background: after gaining independence from Russia in 1917, Finland and the Soviet Union shared a long border. Soviet leader Joseph Stalin believed that the city of Leningrad was too close to Finnish territory and feared it could become vulnerable in a future war. The Soviet Union demanded that Finland hand over parts of the Karelian Isthmus, move its border farther from Leningrad, and lease the Hanko Peninsula for a naval base. In return, Finland would receive a larger but less valuable area farther north. The Finnish government refused, believing that giving up territory would threaten its independence. Negotiations failed, and tensions continued to rise. The Soviet invasion. On November 30th, 1939, the Soviet Union invaded Finland without declaring war. Thousands of Soviet troops crossed the border while bombers attacked Finnish cities. The Soviet leadership expected a quick victory. The Red Army greatly outnumbered the Finnish army in soldiers, tanks, aircraft, and artillery. Many believed Finland would collapse within only a few weeks. Instead, the Finns prepared to fight. Finland's resistance. Although heavily outnumbered, Finnish soldiers used the harsh winter to their advantage. Temperatures often dropped below -30 degrees Celsius. Finnish troops, dressed in white camouflage uniforms, moved quickly through forests on skis while Soviet forces remained confined to narrow roads. One of the most effective Finnish tactics was the Madi tactic. Small Finnish units surrounded isolated Soviet columns, cutting them into smaller groups before destroying them one by one. These tactics caused heavy Soviet losses despite Finland's much smaller army. Major battles. Some of the fiercest fighting took place along the Mannerheim Line on the Karelian Isthmus. The Finnish defensive positions slowed repeated Soviet assaults for weeks. Another famous battle occurred near Suomussalmi. There, Finnish forces completely destroyed the Soviet 44th Rifle Division after surrounding it in the forests. The Battle of Rate Road became one of Finland's greatest victories and demonstrated how mobility and knowledge of the terrain could defeat a much larger enemy. Despite these successes, the Soviet Union continued sending more troops and equipment to the front. The end of the war. By February 1940, the Red Army had learned from its earlier mistakes. It launched massive attacks supported by overwhelming artillery and tanks. After weeks of heavy fighting, Soviet forces finally broke through parts of the Mannerheim Line. Realizing that continued resistance was becoming impossible, Finland agreed to negotiate peace. On March 13, 1940, the Moscow Peace Treaty ended the Winter War. Finland remained independent, but was forced to cede about 11% of its territory, including much of Karelia. More than 400,000 Finnish civilians had to leave their homes. Consequences. Although Finland lost territory, many people viewed the country as the moral victor. Its determined resistance earned international admiration. The Soviet Union suffered enormous casualties, far greater than expected. The poor performance of the Red Army also influenced Adolf Hitler's opinion of Soviet military strength before Germany invaded the Soviet Union in 1941. For Finland, however, the conflict was not over. In 1941, Finland entered the Continuation War alongside Germany in an attempt to regain its lost territory. Conclusion. The Winter War showed that determination, leadership, and clever tactics could allow a much smaller nation to resist one of the world's largest armies. Although Finland was forced to give up land, it preserved its independence and became a symbol of national resilience. Today, the Winter War remains one of the most remarkable defensive campaigns of the 20th century. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which historical conflict you'd like to see next.